Now that you've finished building the walking insect, you need to be able to program it. For this program, you're going to need to build a wand like this one with 4 colors on it, and you're going to use the color sensor to control your robot. When you start the program, the first thing I suggest you do is save it with a new name. You can do that by clicking on these 3 dots and then clicking on Rename Project, and then you can type in whatever name you want. As you can see, I've named this project Walking Insect Control. The next thing you need to do is pair your robot or connect your robot to your computer or your device. You'll know it's paired when you see the green check mark next to the hub icon, and you can see that I've got the color sensor plugged into port C, and then the motors are plugged into ports E and F. The color sensor does detect color. So right now there's nothing over the color sensor and it doesn't see any color. But for example, if I put a blue Lego brick over it, you can see that the color sensor is now detecting blue. And if I put a red brick over it, you can see it's now detecting red. And now when there's nothing over it, it's back to detecting nothing. So we can use this to control the robot. So every program, when you start, it starts with this event right here that says when program starts. And anything that you attach to the when program starts will run automatically when you start the program. And so in movement, these pink section here, you are going to need to find where it says set movement motors, and you're going to need to drag that command in, which tells the robot what ports the motors are plugged into. If the robot's already connected when you go to the movement motors, it will generally identify that you've already got motors plugged into E and F. If not, you may have to set them on your own by clicking on this and then choosing where your motors are. The next thing you need to do is set the movement speed. Setting it at 50% is fine for now. You can mess with the speeds. You can go all the way up to 100. You'll see they're not very fast, but feel free to play around with the movement speed as you start messing with the program. So we want to use the color sensor, and to do that, we're going to create more events. So the event is this little piece of code right here, the yellow-orange thing with the little bump on top. That starts what we call a stack. So this is one stack of commands, and this stack of commands will happen when the program starts. If I come over here and click on events, you can see that there's several different events that we can use. And I want to use this second one here, which says when color is red. Again, since I'm already connected to the hub, the robot knows that C is the port that the color sensor is plugged into. But if the color sensor is plugged into something else, you can click on this and change the port. And so I want the robot to do something when it sees the color red. So when the robot sees the color red, I want the robot to start moving. Now, if I hold a red brick over the color sensor, the robot will start moving. But I've got 4 colors, so I want to have the robot do 4 different things. I can go back to my events and I can create 3 other events, one for each color. And so I have red. Next to red on my wand, I have magenta. I can click on this pull down menu and choose magenta. Then I also have green, so I can choose green. And then I also have blue, so I can choose blue. And now each time the robot sees a different color, I can put different commands under that event. So for example, when the robot sees red, it's going to start moving. I can come back in here to movement. And then when I show the robot magenta, it can stop. So now I can start the robot and stop the robot whenever I want. And then the other thing I want to do is have the robot be able to turn. So I'm going to put a start moving, and this right 30 is the one that will allow you to create and control a turn. And I'm going to use 2 of them, one for green and one for blue. For green, I'm going to have the robot turn left since it's on the left-hand side. And to do that, I can just click on this right 30, and you can see that I can run the slider. And if I come to this side, I can turn the robot left. On this side, I turn the robot right. So I'm going to come back here to left, And I'm going to set it all the way to 100, which is the sharpest turn. The bigger the number, the tighter the robot's going to turn. And I want the robot to turn tightly. So on right, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to click on it and I'm going to drag it down to here and set the robot at right 100. Now, when you press play, the robot should set its movement motors and speed so that when you start placing the wand over the top of the robot, over the color sensor, it will start moving and you can control its movement. So now that you have this program set up, go ahead and start having fun with your walking insect.